Hi guys, so today we're going to do a tutorial on pre-participation and explaining what are the steps involved before pre-participation to an exercise workout. So the first thing you'd want to do is greet the client, make sure they know your name, feel comfortable with you, and then you can get started with the next step, which is explaining the purpose of a health screening and evaluation. Basically, the purpose there is to make sure that the person is physically fit for exercise. So we want to make sure if they have any diseases or previous medical issues that would prevent them from exercise or put them in harm through exercising. We want to get those things analyzed beforehand to make sure they're fit to exercise. So the first form we're going to have them fill out is the informed consent form. This form will basically save us of any liability and explain to them what tests will be run, and so that they understand what they'll be taking before they complete it. After that's signed, we would move on to the PAR-Q. The PAR-Q basically assesses any previous medical conditions and disease. And if any of the boxes that are shown here are clicked as yes, there are additional steps in the back that they would take, additional forms to fill out about previous conditions, and then overall, if any of these are a yes, we're going to have them fill out the PAR-medx, which is basically referring them to a medical physician to check to see if their conditions are unsafe and if they are in fact fit for exercise. If the PAR-Q is all good and there's no previous medical history that makes us feel that that they're in danger to physical activity, then we can move on to blood pressure and heart rate testing before we can get into physical activity.
After the participant takes a pre-screening test, the next thing we're going to be doing is getting their resting heart rate and their resting blood pressure. A few of the tools that you're going to be needing is a stopwatch, the blood pressure cuff, and sphygmomanometer right there, and then the alcohol swabs to make sure that you can clean your stethoscope, and a measuring tape. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to be doing is taking their resting heart rate. So we are going to look for the radial artery, and we are going to count the beats for 15 seconds and multiply by 4. So you multiply 17 by 4 and you get 68 for your resting heart rate. And after that, we are going to get their resting blood pressure. So they need to be sitting in a chair with back support, and the participant's feet should be flat on the ground with their back straight. Next thing that we're going to be doing is measuring the circumference of the arm. We're going to get the reading midway between the acromion and olecranon.
About 31 centimeters.
The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get the cuff, and we are going to wrap the cuff firmly around the arm, making sure that the midline of the cuff is over the radial artery, and we want it about 2 centimeters above the antecubital fossa, which is about where the elbow bends. And then we want to have the manometer being in viewing distance of the person taking the pressure. And the last thing that we're going to look for is to make sure that the tubing is not pinched anywhere. Alright, so we want to pump the cuff pressure. We want to make sure that the valve is closed. And we're going to squeeze the bulb, and we want to pump the cuff pressure to 70 millimeters of mercury and slowly increase by 10 millimeters of mercury of increments until it hits 180. At this point, you should be feeling the brachial pulse, and as you release, you're going to feel the pulse disappear, and at that point, that's going to be the systolic blood pressure. As you release the pressure in the cuff, when the pulse returns, that's going to be the diastolic blood pressure. Once you have the readings, you will fully deflate the cuff, take it off,
I was able to censor out a lot of the background noise.
and then you will swab the stethoscope with the alcohol pads. Alright, so after we've gotten the resting heart rate, we want to find their exercise, pulse, and blood pressure. So the first thing, we want our participant to not be grabbing the handlebars during the exercise. We are going to have them at a 1 kp workload, and we are going to be taking the heart rate and the blood pressure every 2 minutes. So we're coming up on 2 minutes right now, and the first thing that we're going to do is get her pulse. So the same thing before, we're going to be counting for 15 seconds and then multiplying by 4 to find her first heart rate.
It's 96.
96. The next thing we're going to be doing is taking the blood pressure. And we have the cuff already on there. And he's going to be filling the brachial artery and inflating to 180 millimeters of mercury. And then slowly releasing the pressure. And when he feels the pulse disappear, he's going to find the systolic blood pressure. And when it returns, that is going to be the diastolic blood pressure. Alright, so after the first reading is taken, we are going to continue and taking the heart rate and the blood pressure every 2 minutes for a total of 6 minutes. So you will have 3 total readings for the heart rate and blood pressure.